So you want to know what it's like to be a Harvard Business School student? Well, I did too. So I reached out to my good friend Jay, who's the founder of a multi-million-dollar business and an HBS student. That's him right there. Jumped on a plane to Boston and followed him around for a full HBS day in the life. People come from all over the world to study at HBS to learn how to build successful companies. Many of them started their careers at top banks, consultancies, private equity firms, tech businesses, and global corporates, although there are people from the military and a range of past occupations. Some of them, like Jay, already have their own businesses. Jay is the co-founder of Opefect, so if you hear us talking about that later in the video, we're talking about the 50-plus person business Jay started buying and renting construction equipment in Austin, Texas, where he's from. So I'm definitely keen to understand how Jay balances life at HBS with being the CFO of a business that recently raised $65 million in growth financing. Other people at HBS are looking to found startups or just learn how to run or advise big companies. And today we're going to see an early morning 3 HBS classes, life around the stunning HBS campus, and business meetings. So let's find out what a day at Harvard Business School is really like. Hey Jay, what we doing?
We are going to the gym. Yesterday was legs and core. Today is just going to be an upper body day.
You usually wake up this freaking early.
Yes, on class days, the only way to exercise, do class, and do all the work is to just get up early and get it done.
Liam is obviously nothing. So Jay, how did you get into HBS?
So I'd say it's a three-step process, and I'd break it down into 1, taking the test, 2, preparing your application, and then 3, the interview. So the first thing you have to do is you have to take the GMAT or the GRE. I did a really aggressive just crash course, get the GMAT done. Some people will study for a couple months. You then will prep your application. You have to write a personal statement, which is, your essay, and that's about 2 pages. That might take some time. You might want to have somebody read it. So assuming that your test is good and your application is good, you'll be invited to an interview. I think the numbers are like 20% of people who apply get invited to an interview. You do an hour-long or half-hour-long interview, and about 50% of the people move on and get accepted from that round.
And what is the HBS program actually like? Like how long and what do you actually do when you're there?
So it's a 21-month program. The first 9 months, it's on your classic American academic calendar, so fall, spring. Your first year fall, you take 5 required courses, which are accounting, finance, leadership, marketing, and then operations management. The second semester, the spring of your first year, you take business, government, international economy, which is a global macroeconomics course. You take a strategy course, you take an ethics course, you take finance 2, and then you also take entrepreneurial management. So those are your 10 required courses that you take during your first year. You're in the exact same seat with the exact same 90 people called your section for the entirety of that first year. So once you've done those 2 semesters, you'll go into a summer break where people will go do an internship. The school has great resources to help you find an internship. You can start a business. It's required that you work though in some sort of capacity. Quite a few do consulting, banking, but there's other routes. And then when you come back from your summer work, you do what's called the elective curriculum. That's your second year. And you're required to take 10 courses, 5 each semester. I'd say the first year is more about breadth. The second year is about depth. It's about getting into whatever you want to study and spending a lot of time on it. So if you're running a business like I am, or starting a business like some others are, there's classes that you take that support that activity. So you won't have as much work in the class, but you have to present deliverables on how you're building your business. If you're really into real estate, there's real estate finance classes, there's real estate private equity classes. If you're really into the environment or sustainability, there's classes for that. If you're really into finance, there's classes for that. So you can tailor your second year experience to be whatever it is you want to be, and you control your schedule quite a bit more. Once you've done those 2 years, you finish, you graduate, the course is over, and you go out into the working world.
When studying at HBS, how many hours a day are you actually in school for and studying?
So your first year, you're in class 5 or 6 hours a day, every day of the week, including your study group time, which is mandatory. You're also doing 2 to 3 case readings a night, and those are probably 20, 25 pages each. So depending on how quick you read, how quickly you digest, could be as little as 30 minutes to 45 minutes or a few hours. And then you come to class prepared to argue your point in the first year. The second year, there might be days where you don't have to be on campus, or maybe you only have 1 class on campus. So you really get to control your schedule a lot in the second year. It's really hard to give a definitive answer of how much time you're spending on campus and how much homework you have, because it's so broad on what you can do. So on my right is Aldrich Hall, which is where all your first year classes are. And quite literally, you will sit in the same classroom for the entirety of the year. Right across to my left is a lot of the on-campus housing. It really is a residential campus. So the vast majority of students live on campus and just walk across the street to come to class. I don't, I live downtown to accommodate my wife's work. I'm walking towards Hawes Hall, which is again in the same area. It's where a lot of your second year classes will take place. So it's, a nice sized campus, it's beautiful, but everything is walkable. You don't need a car if you live on campus, and it's really convenient when the weather's this nice to take a stroll to class.
So Jay's first class of the day is becoming a general manager. Classes at HBS are usually 80 minutes long, and I am able to attend as a guest, which is pretty awesome. Classes generally cover a real life business case, with teachers calling on people to give their opinions using the Socratic method, and with a guest speaker often invited to come and give concluding remarks as to how the case actually played out, following discussion amongst the students. Today's class was all about building company culture to handle crisis, and how businesses balance ethical decision making with profit. Jay then heads pretty much straight away into his second class of the day, negotiation. This class involves roles being given to each student in a negotiation scenario. The one today was about how a budget would be spent when building a new port, and each student then has certain things they can and cannot give during the course of the negotiations, scoring points based on the ultimate outcome of the negotiation. After the practical session, there's then a separate 80-minute class where the students run through what they learned during the course of their negotiation. Negotiation class complete, and Jay very happy with the deal he managed to get for himself. We then head for lunch with one of Jay's friends from HBS. The canteen is pretty epic with tons of food options. Generally just a pretty amazing place to get to come and eat every day. After lunch is then straight back to it for the final class of the day at 2 p.m. And because Jay just can't get enough of negotiation, it's advanced negotiation. And this is a class that studies rather than practices negotiation, and I've got to say it's absolutely awesome. The concept is that the professor takes historical figures, artists, business people, politicians, and change makers, and explores the techniques that they use to effectively achieve desired outcomes. The particular class that I got to go to was on Henry Kissinger and how he, as Secretary of State for the US, managed to get white minority Rhodesian leader Ian Smith to accede to black majority rule. That amazing class ends at 3:20 and Jay has to get to a remote business meeting at 4.
What time is it, Jay? Time to go home and get to work.
So we rush home from Harvard to his apartment downtown and soak up the Boston sights along the way. And while we're in the car inspired by HBS, I get to work on Menos for half an hour. And Menos is the brand that Beth and I created for ambitious students and professionals. Made from 15 recycled plastic bottles, the Menos backpack has all you need from a commuter backpack, laptop sleeve, notepad pouch, pockets, water bottle holder. Plus, unlike top loaders, it opens 180 degrees so that you can easily pack all your weekend essentials or reach something in the bottom of your bag. We collect 100 ocean-bound plastic bottles and plant a tree with every purchase. So yeah, head over to wearemenos.com to support me and to grab yourself a stunning minimalist backpack. And we are giving viewers of this channel an exclusive 10% discount. Link down in the description. And now back to Jay. So Jay, what are you up to?
So I just wrapped the OpenFX weekly sales meeting, which is a time for me to interact with the entirety of the sales team. It helps keep them accountable to their metrics and their goals. It also gives me a window into the business. I'm the CFO for the business, so a lot of what I do is I'm doing fleet planning to make sure we have the right assets on the ground at the right time. And the meeting gives me a window into what revenue is going to look like on our profit and loss statement as well. So it helps me control the balance sheet via fleet planning and helps me to control the profit and loss statement by understanding how revenue is going to filter through the business. I'm about to jump into the OpenFX staff meeting, which is attended by the leadership from the sales team and the leadership from the operations team to make sure that the two departments are working together. So the guys that are focused on generating revenue are interacting weekly with the guys that process that revenue, get the machines delivered, get the machines repaired, get the machines picked up. We want to make sure that those two departments don't become siloed. So we have a weekly time for those two departments to communicate so the company can be working the best for both parties.
Jay finishes up his second business meeting at around 6 and then takes around an hour and a half preparing for classes tomorrow by reading over and considering the cases he'll be covering. He then finishes up the day, unwinding, making dinner with his wife Olivia before a very early night and a solid 8 to 9 hours of sleep before this all starts again.